You have been living as a slave to your emotions, automatically reacting to everything that happens around you, and this has been destroying your relationships and your inner peace. Thich Nhat Hanh taught that between each stimulus and response exists an entire universe of possibilities, but most people never discover this secret. The truth is that you don't need to be strong all the time. You need to be wise. When you delay your reaction for just 3 conscious breaths, something magical happens. Your reactive mind calms down, your wisdom awakens, and you gain the power to choose the response that truly serves your well-being. This ancient practice will teach you how to transform your impulsivity into mindfulness and your anger into compassion. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your like and comment from which part of the world you're watching, because now I'm going to tell you everything. Have you ever noticed the small gap between something that happens and the reaction that jumps up in you and wondered what would change if you used that gap on purpose? That little space is where Buddhist psychology becomes very practical. It describes how experience unfolds step by step and how a delay, even just a breath or two, can shift the entire outcome of what happens next. In simple terms, the mind moves through a natural sequence. Something makes contact with your senses, which in the old language is called phassa. That contact produces a feeling tone called vedana. Feeling tone means the raw flavor of experience before any story shows up. It is pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. From there, a habit tends to start. We reach toward pleasant experiences and push away unpleasant ones. That reaching and pushing is craving. If we keep feeding that movement, it hardens into clinging, and then it forms a sense of becoming, which is the identity and momentum that tells us who we are in that moment. I am angry, I am offended, I am right. Once this chain is running, your reaction feels inevitable, but it is not fixed. The key is to find the moment when feeling tone appears and give it some air before it turns into craving. Delaying your reaction sounds simple, and it is, but it is not lazy or passive. It is a strategic act. You let awareness move in between feeling and craving. That pause is like a doorway where wisdom and kindness can step into the room. With even a few slow breaths and a bit of curiosity, you can choose a response that lowers suffering rather than multiplies it. Each time you do this, the old chain loses a little power. The next time, it is easier. Over time, control starts to feel less like muscle and more like timing. Think about a message that lands in your inbox late in the afternoon. The subject line bristles with blame. Your stomach tightens. That is contact and feeling tone arriving right on schedule. The unpleasant feeling wants to jump straight into craving, which here might be the urge to prove the sender wrong or to fire back. If you type on autopilot, clinging forms as a story about how you have been treated and who you need to be in this moment. Becoming follows as the identity of the wounded defender. Often that reaction makes the situation worse. A short delay helps you feel the heat without letting it steer the wheel. You might read the message twice, let your breath slow down, and notice the urge to attack without acting it out. You can ask one clarifying question, or choose to reply tomorrow morning when the tone is cleaner. The outcome is fewer fights and better solutions, not because you swallowed your truth, but because you gave the response enough time to be accurate and helpful. Traffic is another laboratory. A car swerves into your lane and your chest surges. Contact and feeling tone flash up before any thought forms. The raw unpleasantness is strong. The quick and old habit is to grip the wheel, shout, and tailgate. That sequence is so fast that it feels like one thing. But if you catch the feeling tone, there is room. You notice the jolt in your body. You say to yourself, unpleasant. You feel the urge to chase, and you wait. That small wait does not make you slow or weak. It makes you sane. You can still honk if it serves safety. You can still change lanes if that is wise. But you are not letting a burst of chemistry drive your next 5 minutes. You are choosing. The long-term effect is a nervous system that learns that heat can pass without spilling everywhere. The same pattern shows up in close relationships, often more intensely. Someone you love says something sharp. The first impact hurts. That is normal. The next move is the question. Do you reach for the old script where you strike back, freeze them out, or turn the blame inward? Or do you pause long enough to feel the feeling as a feeling? When you wait even a few breaths, you can say what is true without making the other person the enemy. You might say, "That landed hard for me, can we slow down?" That is not passivity, it is putting care about the relationship at the center. You still set boundaries, you still ask for what you need. The difference is that you are doing it from clarity rather than from a spike of pain. This is not about suppressing emotion. Suppression is a lid that traps pressure inside and often leaks later in unhelpful ways. The pause is not a lid, it is a valve. It lets the energy of the moment spread out into awareness so it does not have to explode. In that space, you can name the feeling tone: pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. That simple label stops the slide into craving by exposing the trigger before it hardens into a demand. Naming also loosens identification. Instead of "I am angry," it becomes "anger is here." That small shift reduces the sense that the feeling is in charge. You are the space that can hold it, not the puppet that has to act it out. If you like thinking in terms of the body, this is about letting the body finish its wave. Strong feelings start as sensations. Your heart pounds, your jaw sets, your skin gets prickly. When you pause and feel those sensations directly, you are letting nature do what it does. Sensations tend to rise and fall, they change. If you ride out that wave with a bit of steadiness, the brain gets a fresh signal. The storm is passing. That lets the planning part of the brain come back online. You are not forced to choose between numbness and explosion. You can feel and think at the same time. That is the sweet spot. It can help to keep the pause very concrete. Notice your breath move through the belly or the nose. Feel your feet on the floor or your seat on the chair. Let your face soften. Check in with your eyes and jaw. That grounding steadies the nervous system. Then ask a very simple question. What is the feeling tone right now? If it is unpleasant, acknowledge that openly. Of course it is unpleasant. Then notice the pull to fix the outside world immediately. That pull is craving. If you can wait a little, craving does not have to solidify into clinging. Clinging sounds like "this must change right now or I cannot be okay." The pause does not mean you never act. It means you do not act from panic or pride. You let wisdom choose the timing. Sometimes the delay is only a few seconds, and that is enough. In a tense meeting, it might be the choice to take one breath before speaking. That breath lets you test your words against simple criteria. Is it true? Is it helpful? Is it timely? Is it kind? If the answer is not sure, the pause continues a little longer. You might ask a question instead of making a claim. You might restate what you heard to make sure you got it. That is not a trick, it is basic human respect. In that quieter space, other people soften too. Arguments cool down because the fuel stops arriving. Waiting can sound risky if you are used to reacting quickly. There is a worry that you will lose your edge, be taken advantage of, or miss opportunities. In practice, you are not giving up speed. You are putting your speed in the right place. Quickness belongs in noticing contact and feeling tone early, so you can see the wave coming and surf it with balance. What you are slowing down is the unexamined leap from feeling to action. That leap is where most unnecessary damage happens. A small delay at the start prevents a long cleanup later. It is also useful to be honest about limits. Some situations require immediate movement, like pulling a child back from a street or hitting the brakes to prevent a crash. A trained pause does not stop you from doing that. It can even improve it, because a steady nervous system coordinates better. The moment the emergency passes, you shift back into awareness and avoid lashing out at bystanders or yourself. The practice is not rigid. It adapts to context. What changes when you build this habit over weeks and months is not just behavior but identity. At first, you are someone who sometimes catches yourself. Then you become someone who is hard to provoke off your values. Your baseline shifts. Problems still happen, feelings still come, but they do not hijack you as easily. People start to trust your presence. They know you will not blow up or shut down without warning. That trust makes collaboration and intimacy much easier. You inspire calmer responses in others, which reinforces your own steadiness. It becomes a positive loop. There is also a quiet satisfaction in seeing old patterns weaken. You might notice that the comment that used to ruin your day now stings for a few minutes and then passes. You might notice that you disagree with someone and stay warm toward them anyway. You might find that you do not chase every itch to check your phone or buy something you do not need. Each of those moments is a demonstration that feeling tone is not your boss. You are building a different relationship with impulse. That is what it means to shift from reactive to intentional action. Some people worry that delaying reaction will make them bland or fake. The truth is the opposite. The pause makes room for more of your real intelligence and care to show up. You still feel joy and anger and sorrow. You still speak up. You just do it with less baggage. Your words become cleaner because they are less mixed with old fear or pride. Your actions land better because they are aimed at what matters rather than at a momentary itch. You come across as more yourself, not less. It can also be helpful to recognize that the habit of pausing spreads across areas of life by association. If you practice waiting a breath before you answer an email, you might find it easier to wait a breath before you reach for a snack out of boredom. If you pause before you correct a colleague, you might pause before you criticize yourself harshly for a mistake. Self-talk is part of this picture. The inner critic often reacts faster than anyone outside. When you delay that inner attack and meet the feeling with simple attention, you reduce a lot of hidden suffering. You will still learn from errors, but without the sting of shame that lingers for no good reason. On days when you forget and react poorly, the same framework applies. Contact, feeling, craving, clinging, becoming. You can look back and see where the momentum picked up. That review is not about beating yourself up. It is about learning where to place the pause next time. When you repair with someone you hurt, do it plainly. I reacted too fast. I am sorry. That honesty is part of the practice. It closes loops and keeps relationships clean. It also reminds you that you are not trying to be perfect. You are training a skill. If you like small experiments, you can pick one daily cue and try inserting a pause there for a week. Maybe it is the moment your phone buzzes. Maybe it is the moment you open the front door at the end of the day. You feel the body, notice the feeling tone, breathe, and then choose. Track how the outcome changes. You might be surprised by how many little frustrations never need to become big problems. That evidence builds confidence in the method. It stops being a theory and becomes something you simply do. Underneath all of this is a simple insight. Feeling tone is not the same as a command. Pleasant does not mean grab it now. Unpleasant does not mean get rid of it now. Neutral does not mean check out. Feeling tone is just a signal. When you see that clearly, craving loses its grip. Without constant craving, clinging eases. Without heavy clinging, the sense of becoming this or that settles down. In that settled space, you can act for the good, not because you are pressured by an impulse, but because you see what will actually help. Control emerges from waiting because waiting restores perspective. So the next time something hits hard, try this in ordinary language. Something touched me. It feels unpleasant. The urge is to react. I will breathe. I will feel the body. I will wait a moment. I will choose. Then do the next sensible thing. Nothing fancy. If you repeat that across the day, you will notice that outcomes shift. Fewer regrets, fewer messes to clean up, more respect from others and for yourself. The practice is humble and quiet, but it is powerful. It works in traffic, in email, in the kitchen, and in your own head when nobody else is around. That is dependent origination in daily life, not as a theory, but as a way to make the next moment lighter. So if waiting changes the next moment, what keeps that pause steady when real life pulls you around? The most practical answer I know is training attention in a simple, structured way so the pause does not rely on luck. In Buddhist psychology, that structure is called the 4 foundations of mindfulness. Think of them as 4 places to rest attention so your system settles fast enough to delay reacting. They are the body, the feeling tone of experience, the mind state you are in, and the basic principles that explain how experience works. You do not need special beliefs to try this. You just need a willingness to notice what is actually happening right now in a straightforward way. Start with the body because the body is always here. When you bring attention to breathing, posture, and simple sensations, the nervous system gets a clear signal that it can slow down. An easy move is to feel the breath in the belly or at the nostrils without forcing it. Let the breath be natural. At the same time, let your posture be upright but not stiff, as if your head is gently balanced and your shoulders can drop away from your ears. These plain physical cues interrupt the rush to react. You might feel your feet on the floor or the weight of your hands. You're not trying to think your way out of a reaction. You are giving your body a chance to settle so the mind can see clearly. On a busy day, the body foundation can be used in seconds. When the phone buzzes, feel the exhale before you touch the screen. When someone says something tense, widen your attention to include the contact points of your body with the chair. If you are standing, feel the ground. If you are walking, notice the shift of weight from foot to foot. Do not worry about doing it perfectly. Better to do a small, real check than to aim for a big imaginary calm. If there is pain or agitation, note that too. Sensations change. The point is to anchor in what is direct and sensory so the pressure to shoot off a reaction can cool down. The next foundation is the feeling tone, which is a simple but powerful lens. Feeling tone is not an emotion like anger or joy. It is the basic flavor that shows up the instant something touches the senses. It can be pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Labeling the tone exposes the trigger earlier than usual. For example, an email arrives and you feel a jolt. That is unpleasant. A message from a friend lands and you feel a glow. That is pleasant. Waiting in line with nothing happening feels flat. That is neutral. When you notice the tone, you are less likely to slide into grasping the pleasant, fighting the unpleasant, or drifting off in the neutral. That small awareness is often enough to hold the pause. You can practice this in quiet moments and in the middle of work. Sip coffee and ask, "What is the tone right now?" Notice music in a store and ask the same. Hear your name in a meeting and check again. If it is unpleasant, acknowledge it honestly. The aim is not to deny it. The aim is to stop the reflex that says, "Get rid of this now at any cost." If it is pleasant, you can enjoy it without chasing it or bending your values to keep it. If it is neutral, you can stay present without falling into numb scrolling or filler habits. This recognition does not take long. It is a one-word check that reveals a fork in the road. Then comes the mind state, which means the overall mood and thinking pattern operating right now. This is where you notice whether the mind is angry, anxious, proud, jealous, dull, scattered, or clear. It also covers the speed of thoughts and how convincing they sound. A simple way to work with this is to name the state in a few plain words: worried mind, planning mind, defensive mind, tired mind. Naming does not fix anything by itself, but it removes the illusion that the current state is the whole truth. You stop confusing a passing storm for the climate. That takes away some of the authority that urges have over your actions. Once you see the state you are in, you can choose a small adjustment that respects it. If the mind is restless, bring attention back to the belly and let the breath lengthen a little on the exhale. If the mind is dull, straighten the posture, open the eyes fully, and feel the coolness of the air on the skin. If the mind is proud or defensive, check the body for tension in the chest and jaw and soften there. You are not punishing yourself for having a state. You are stabilizing attention so the state does not run the show. This is a workable approach in the middle of a conversation or while answering messages. It costs only a few seconds, and it pays off by keeping your choices aligned with what matters. The fourth foundation is the principles that describe how experience functions. You can call them Dharma categories if you like that word, but we can keep it simple. The key points are that everything is changing, that clinging to changeable things creates stress, and that experience is not a fixed self, it is a flow of conditions. When you remember that feelings rise and fall, you are less tempted to lock them in with a reaction that makes trouble. When you remember that gripping a mood or an opinion breeds stress, you are more willing to loosen your grip and listen. When you remember that a thought or an urge is not your identity, you are freer to choose a response that helps rather than harms. You can apply these principles in quiet and in the heat. When anger flares, say to yourself, this is a changing state. When the itch to reply instantly shows up, note that chasing relief might create more stress. When the mind says, I am this kind of person, you can say this is a pattern, not a permanent truth. These reminders are not abstract philosophy. They are practical prompts that weaken the old habit chain and strengthen the pause. They also protect against the common confusion that waiting equals weakness. Remembering cause and effect, you see that haste has costs and that a measured response often prevents needless repair work later. All four foundations work together. The body grounds you, the feeling tone reveals the trigger, the mind state displays the lens you are looking through, and the principles give you a bigger frame that keeps you honest. In a tense moment, you do not need to cycle through them in a rigid order. You can start with whichever is most available. If your hands are shaking, start with the body. If you cannot name the emotion but feel the flavor clearly, start with tone. If your thoughts are racing, start by naming the state. If you feel trapped, recall the principle that this will change and that you can change your relationship to it. Here is how this might look in daily situations without turning it into a ritual. A colleague challenges you in a meeting. You feel the belly tighten and the breath get shallow, so you settle the exhale and feel your feet. You silently note, unpleasant. You see a defensive mind state rising. You remember that the state is not the whole truth and that reacting hard will add stress. You ask a clarifying question instead of snapping. Later, you can follow up with a direct conversation when both of you are cooler. The buffer created by these steps is small in clock time but large in outcome. Or consider a quiet afternoon where nothing much is happening. Neutral tone often invites autopilot. You notice your hand moving to unlock the phone for no real reason. You feel the breath and the fingertips. You label the tone as neutral and the mind state as bored. You remember that chasing stimulation does not actually satisfy the boredom for long. You choose to stand up, stretch, and take a short walk. That is not glamorous, but it prevents an hour of numbing and the irritability that often follows. There will be days when attention feels scattered or dull, and you wonder if any of this helps. That is a normal part of training. Treat obstacles as information. If drowsiness keeps showing up, try bringing mindfulness into activities that keep you physically alert, like mindful walking or doing the dishes with full attention to water, temperature, and movement. If restlessness dominates, shorten the check-ins and do them more often, like a few steady breaths between tasks. If numbness or shutdown appears, widen attention to include sounds and sights, not just internal sensations. If pain is present, remember that pain sensation and the reaction to pain are different layers. Feel the raw sensation as it changes and soften the story that it will never end. People often ask how much time to spend on this. The useful answer is to connect it to the rhythm you already have. Short, regular moments work better than rare, long ones that you avoid. You can set a gentle intention to return to the body and tone at natural pauses, like before opening email, before stepping into the next meeting, before answering a difficult message. If you enjoy formal practice, a handful of minutes sitting quietly most days can reinforce the skill. Sit upright, feel the breath, name the tone now and then, notice the state, and when thoughts pull you away, come back without drama. If formal practice is not your thing, do it in microdoses woven into work, family, and errands. The point is consistency, not intensity. A helpful attitude is patience mixed with curiosity. Instead of pushing for quick results, treat each check-in as data. What happens when I place attention on the body in this exact situation? What happens when I name tone out loud in a whisper versus silently? Which reminders from the principles actually stick in my mind under pressure? This friendlier approach keeps the training sustainable. If you catch yourself turning mindfulness into a harsh project, notice that as another mind state. Return to a simple feel of the breath. Kindness is not fluff here. It keeps the system calm enough to learn. How do you know it is working? The signs are ordinary and easy to miss. You find yourself catching the urge to interrupt and choosing to listen. You notice irritation rising and you adjust your posture instead of letting your voice sharpen. You realize mid-argument that you are hungry and that the conversation will go better after a snack. You feel the pull to defend an opinion and decide to ask for more information. You see a painful comment online and you walk away instead of feeding a fight. These are not dramatic wins, but they add up. The pause becomes normal, not special. There is another benefit that shows up over time. The 4 foundations reduce the false urgency that rides on top of many decisions. By stabilizing in the body, you get a clearer read on whether a situation is actually on fire or just uncomfortable. By naming tone, you separate the heat of feeling from the facts. By observing the mind state, you do not confuse a mood with a mandate. By remembering the principles, you trust that not every itch deserves a scratch. This combination trims the noise around choices so you can address what matters with less friction. None of this means you stop making strong moves. It means your strong moves are informed by a clearer mind and a steadier body. You still set boundaries. You still say no. You still take risks when they are warranted. The difference is that you do not give anger, fear, or pride the first word. You let awareness step in, even briefly, and then you act. That is the practical gift of the 4 foundations. They do not ask you to become a different person. They give the person you already are a better base to stand on when life gets loud. If you want a concrete way to try this today, pick one ordinary moment and fill it with the 4 foundations for a breath or two. Washing your hands, feel the water and the contact with the skin, name the tone, notice the mind state, and recall that everything is changing. Then carry on. That tiny rehearsal strengthens the pause when it counts. The more you place attention in these 4 areas across the day, the more reliable your buffer becomes. The slide from feeling to craving slows down and choice steps in. Over time, that steadiness reshapes conversations, decisions, and even how you talk to yourself when nobody else is around. It is simple work, and it works best when done simply. Keeping it simple only works if you have the energy to do it on purpose, not just when conditions are easy. That is where right effort becomes practical. In plain language, right effort is how you channel your energy, so the pause actually happens, and so your choices line up with your values. It is not about grinding or forcing, it is a steady kind of alertness that knows when to hold the line and when to move forward. In the early teachings, it was described in 4 parts. Prevent harmful states from starting, let go of harmful states that have started, bring forward helpful states that are missing, and protect the helpful states that are already here. If you look at daily life through that lens, you can see how each part supports the gap between stimulus and response. Preventing harmful states is the first move because it saves the most energy. It is easier to keep a match from lighting than to put out a fire. In practice, this means setting up your day so that the most common triggers are less likely to knock you off center. You know your personal weak spots. Maybe your reactivity spikes when you read messages before breakfast. Maybe it spikes during back-to-back meetings without a break. Right effort asks you to make simple adjustments that protect the pause. You might choose to check messages after eating when your body is more stable. You might block a few minutes between meetings and treat those minutes as non-negotiable time to reset. You are not avoiding responsibility. You are pairing responsibility with a structure that keeps you able to respond. The prevention side of right effort also includes clear boundaries. If certain topics always explode when raised late at night, Agree with the people in your life to schedule those talks for the next day. If a certain app reliably stirs you up, remove its alerts or move it off your home screen. These are small acts, but they prevent a lot of unnecessary activation, which means fewer moments where you have to wrestle yourself back to calm. Even with prevention, difficult states will still arise. Letting go once they are present is the second part. Here, right effort shows up as the choice to stop feeding a reaction that is already moving. You notice anger in your chest or anxiety in your stomach. The urge is to act it out or to numb it. Right effort is the decision to pause, feel the sensations, and let the wave pass without fueling it. This is where those few steady breaths and the body cues make a difference. You might lengthen the exhale, loosen your jaw, and drop your shoulders. You might put a hand on the abdomen to feel the breath directly. You can also change your posture slightly to shift the mind state. Stand up if you were collapsing. Sit down if you were pacing. When thoughts keep insisting on a story, name the mind state out loud in a quiet voice. Defensive mind, worried mind, tired mind. That naming breaks the spell a little. It does not make the feelings vanish, but it reduces their command over your next move. Letting go sometimes includes walking away from a heated thread, drafting a reply and saving it for the next morning, or asking for a pause in a conversation with a clear promise to return. Right effort backs you up in making that call without guilt. Bringing forward helpful states is the third part, and it matters because absence of reactivity is not the same as presence of clarity. After the pause, you want something wise and kind to fill the space. Helpful states can be as simple as patience, curiosity, or kindness. You can cultivate them on the spot. Ask a genuine question. What exactly bothered me? What exactly bothered them? Curiosity reduces the urge to attack. Bring in kindness by silently wishing well to yourself and the other person, even if you strongly disagree. It can sound like, "May we both be safe and steady while we sort this out." This is not sentimental. It aims your attention toward a solution rather than a win. Patience can be strengthened by setting a clear time frame. You might tell a colleague, "I want to give this proper thought. I will send a response tomorrow morning." You are choosing a delay that supports a better outcome. The more often you practice bringing these states forward, the more available they become when you need them. Protecting the helpful states that are present is the fourth part, and it often gets overlooked. Say you are calm and clear, and someone invites you into a fight. Right effort says, protect your clarity. That could mean declining the bait, stating your boundary plainly, or moving the conversation to a better setting. If you have just finished a focused hour of work and you feel grounded, you might choose to stretch, drink water, and take a short walk instead of jumping straight into a noisy feed that will scatter your attention. If you feel unusually kind or open after time with a friend or after a meditation, you might guard that state by keeping your schedule spacious for a bit, instead of filling it immediately. Protecting helpful states is not precious or avoidant. It is practical. Good states are resources. They make good choices easier. Right effort keeps them around long enough to have an effect. There is a common mistake about effort that is useful to clear up. Many people hear effort and think tension. They tighten their face and push their attention with force. That approach does not last. The traditional word here is viriya, which points to a steady, wholesome energy. It is alert, not anxious. It is committed, not clenched. You can feel the difference in your body. When effort is balanced, the breath can still flow, and your eyes can soften. You can hold attention without squeezing it. You can say no to an impulse without becoming rigid. If you notice yourself getting aggressive with the practice, that is a signal to ease the pressure and bring in more kindness. Remember that the goal is to be more skillful, not more tense. Right effort also respects the basics of energy. It is easier to pause when your body is reasonably rested and fed. That is not fancy, but it is real. If your days are overloaded, consider where you can reclaim small pockets of recovery. A few slow breaths before entering your home after work changes the tone of the evening. A short walk in daylight clears the mind between tasks. A consistent bedtime supports attention the next day. If you cannot change your schedule much, you can still change how you handle the edges of activities. Close one thing fully before opening the next. Feel the body for a breath or two before you switch. These tiny resets reduce the friction that drains energy, and they make your pause more reliable. Another practical piece of right effort is pre-commitment. You can decide in advance how you will handle common triggers, and you can keep those decisions simple. If a message arrives that spikes you, you draft a response and wait until the next morning to send it. If a meeting gets heated, you ask one clarifying question before you offer your view. If a loved one raises a sensitive topic late at night, you ask to schedule it for the next day. These are small scripts. They save you from having to invent a plan when your mind is flooded. They also reduce the space for self-justification to slip in because you have already chosen your standard. Let's talk about mistakes because you will make them. You will snap sometimes, or you will stew quietly, or you will go numb and say yes to things you did not want to accept. Right effort does not mean perfection. It includes repair. When you react poorly, own it quickly and plainly. I was reactive. I need a do-over. Can we restart? That move is not only good for the relationship, it is training. You are teaching your system that even after a misstep, you can return to awareness and make a better choice. Right effort also means learning from the pattern. Where did the chain start? Was I hungry? Was I multitasking? Was I already irritated from something else? One or two adjustments here spare you from repeating the same scene tomorrow. People often ask how hard to push themselves. The honest answer is to aim for steady, not heroic. If you try to overhaul everything at once, you will likely burn out and rebound into old habits. Start with one area where your reactions cause the most trouble and apply right effort there. That might be email or arguments with a partner or driving. Practice the pause in that area until it starts to hold, then expand. As you do, celebrate small wins. Noticing the urge to interrupt and choosing to listen is a win. Asking for time instead of sending a hasty reply is a win. These are not minor. They are exactly the moments that shift outcomes. There is also a social dimension to right effort. If you work on a team, you can normalize pausing by saying so out loud. You might say, I want to be thoughtful. I am going to take a breath before I answer. You might invite others to do the same. You can suggest that high-stakes decisions include a short cooling-off period by default. This is not a trick. It is a standard that protects everyone from preventable mistakes. In families, you can make agreements about how to handle conflict. No big topics after a certain hour. Take a break when voices rise above a calm level. Return at a set time to finish the talk. These norms are forms of right effort at the group level. They prevent and reduce unhelpful states, and they protect helpful ones. A subtle benefit of right effort is how it recycles energy. Every rash action creates work. You have to repair trust, fix errors, or soothe your own shame. Each time you avoid a rash action, you skip that repair cycle and you keep that energy. Over weeks and months, the savings add up. You feel less depleted not because life is easy, but because you are not burning fuel on preventable fires. That freed energy helps you keep practicing, which then saves more energy. This is how the habit stabilizes. It does not happen in a day, but it becomes clear when you look back and notice fewer messes. Right effort can sound like a moral category only, but it is also a skill with technique. One useful technique is to find phrases that slow you down without sounding evasive. Let me think about that. I want to give this proper attention. I will circle back tomorrow morning. These phrases hold the pause publicly and buy time for a better choice. Another technique is to create tiny physical cues. A sticky note that says, breathe near your screen. A bell on your phone that chimes every hour to remind you to feel your body for a moment. A habit of touching the door frame as you walk through and taking one conscious breath. These cues are not magical. They are reminders to apply your effort where it matters. It is worth naming the two extremes that pull people off right effort. One extreme is over-efforting, where you get rigid, perfectionistic, and judgmental about your practice. You start policing yourself and others, and the whole thing becomes heavy. If you see that, back off a notch. Bring in humor. Allow some mess. The point is not to check every box. The point is to suffer less and help more. The other extreme is under-efforting, where you keep good ideas in mind but do not apply them in real moments. If you see that, shrink the task. Choose one cue and one response and make it concrete. When the phone buzzes, feel one breath before touching it. When someone disagrees, ask one question before defending. Small lived steps beat big, imagined plans. In heated situations, right effort also means knowing when to take space and when to stay engaged. If staying means you will likely escalate or collapse, space is wise. If taking space is a pattern of avoidance, staying can be wise. You learn this by paying attention to outcomes. Which choice leads to less harm and more clarity over time? Keep a simple mental record and adjust. That data builds trust in your own judgment, which makes pausing under pressure easier. Some days your best effort will still feel clumsy. You will pause, choose a careful response, and the other person will not meet you halfway. That can be discouraging. Remember that right effort is about your side of the equation. You cannot control other people's reactions. You can control how you show up and how you recover. Staying consistent with that builds a kind of quiet confidence that does not depend on the mood of the room. It is not dramatic, but it is strong. The most direct way to feel the effect of right effort is to pick a challenging window of your day and treat it as your practice field for a week. It could be the morning rush, the midday email block, or the late evening wind down. Bring prevention, letting go, cultivation, and protection into that window. Set 1 or 2 supports in place. Notice what changes. If nothing changes at first, adjust the supports rather than abandoning the whole idea. Often what makes the difference is not more willpower but better placement of energy. Over time, right effort turns the pause from a nice idea into a dependable skill. You catch the early rise of a trigger more often. You choose restraint when it helps, and you step in firmly when that helps. You waste less energy on fights you do not need. You say yes to the work that matters and no to distractions that do not. You feel more aligned with yourself, which is a simple way of saying that your actions match your intentions more of the time. That alignment is the quiet reward. It does not need applause. It shows up as fewer regrets at night and more ease in your body during the day. When the next difficult moment arrives, you do not have to invent a method. You have one and you use it. Having a method matters most when your words are about to leave your mouth. That is where the pause either protects you or slips away. Speech is the fastest way to build or break trust, and it is usually the first place our impulses show. Right effort gives you the energy to pause, and the 4 foundations steady your attention, but now the focus shifts to what actually comes out. In the early teachings, right speech means speaking what is true, beneficial, timely, and rooted in goodwill. That is a simple filter, but using it in real time takes practice. Delaying your reaction before you speak is how you run your words through that filter without turning every sentence into a project. Start with truth, because without it, the rest does not matter. Truth here is not about absolute certainty. It is about being accurate with what you know and honest about what you do not know. The pause gives you just enough space to check. Am I describing what I saw and heard, or am I adding assumptions and motives? In a tense moment with a colleague, the difference between you ignored me and I did not get a reply to my messages changes the whole tone. One attacks identity, the other reports an observable fact. If you are not sure about a detail, say that plainly. I think this is what happened, but I might be missing something. That kind of truthfulness is sturdy because it invites correction instead of locking into a fight. Beneficial means the words should help. Help can look like many things. Clarify a misunderstanding, set a boundary, share praise, make a plan, or offer a needed correction. The pause helps you ask a simple question. What outcome am I trying to support by speaking? If you cannot name a helpful outcome, silence might be better for now. Silence is not suppression if it is paired with intention. You can choose to wait until you have a clear purpose and a calmer tone. When the purpose is set, shape your words so they serve it. If you want to correct a mistake, describe the exact moment and the impact, then ask for a specific change. When the goal is praise, be specific about what worked and why it mattered. Not just good job. Specific benefit makes speech land. Timely is about choosing the right moment. You can be right in content and still cause harm by choosing a bad time or place. The pause lets you scan for readiness, both yours and theirs. Late at night, when both people are tired, is rarely the best time for a hard talk. A public channel is not the best place for sensitive feedback. If you need to address something important, you can say, "There is something I want to discuss when we both have bandwidth. Could we set a time tomorrow morning or later today?" That is not avoidance. It is treating time as part of the message. Timeliness also means not waiting so long that small issues harden into resentments. The pause is not a stall. It is a reset followed by action. Goodwill is the tone underneath. It means you are not using words to injure, score points, or humiliate. You are aiming at the well-being of the other person and the relationship, even when you are firm. Goodwill does not mean softness or pretending. It shows up as a steady voice, plain words, and no cheap shots. It shows up as choosing to ask a question before assuming the worst. It shows up as giving the other person a way to save face while still being clear about what needs to change. The pause gives your goodwill a chance to catch up to your feelings. Without that pause, even true statements can come out like knives. Putting these 4 qualities into practice can be very concrete. Before speaking, take one slow breath and test the impulse across truth, benefit, timing, and goodwill. If one of those is weak, adjust. Maybe the timing is bad, so you say, "I want to talk about this. Can we find a moment this afternoon?" Maybe the truth is shaky, so you switch from accusation to curiosity and ask, "Can you walk me through what led to that choice?" Maybe the goodwill is thin because you are still heated, so you step away and come back after a short walk. This is not complicated. It is basic quality control for speech. Email and chat are places where delay makes an immediate difference. Text strips out tone, which makes misunderstandings more likely. If you are triggered, draft the message and wait. Read it aloud before sending. Hearing your own words reveals snark that your eyes might miss. Check for exaggerations like always and never. Those words almost always make things worse. Swap them for precise descriptions. Replace loaded questions with clear requests. For example, instead of, "Why did you ignore the plan?" try, "I saw the plan changed. Can you share the reasons so we can align?" Small edits like that turn heat into collaboration. If the thread is spiraling, pick a richer channel. A short call or face-to-face conversation gives you more cues to fine-tune your words. In live conversations, waiting before words can be as simple as letting 1 or 2 breaths pass after the other person finishes. Most of us jump in too quickly, often to fix or defend. Those extra breaths let you mirror what you heard. So you are saying the deadline moved and you did not get a heads up, is that right? Mirroring is not a trick. It confirms that you are on the same page before you respond. It also calms people because being understood reduces the need to shout. Only after that do you add your view or your request. When you respond, try to separate observation from judgment. When you raised your voice, "I shut down" is clearer and more useful than "you were disrespectful." The first invites a conversation about impact and a path forward. The second often triggers a debate about intent. There is a temptation to use honesty as a weapon. People say, "I'm just being honest," as if truth alone gives permission to be harsh. Right speech asks for more than truth. Kindness and timing matter. If the sentence would land better tomorrow morning after sleep, wait. If the same point can be made without sarcasm, remove the edge. If you can name a shared goal, lead with it. "We both want this project to land well. Here is what I need from you." That framing does not water down your point. It makes it more workable. Not speaking is also part of right speech, but it needs clarity. There is wise silence, and there is fearful silence. Wise silence happens when speaking now would add noise or harm, and you plan a better moment. Fearful silence happens when you know you should speak, but you avoid it. The pause helps you tell the difference. If you choose silence, pair it with a clear next step. Send a note proposing a time to talk. Put a reminder on your calendar. Prepare a few sentences so you do not back out later. If the issue is small and will fade without causing harm, you can let it go. If it matters, let the pause lead to action, not to delay without end. Boundaries need special attention. Many people associate right speech with softness and forget that saying no is part of it. A boundary stated clearly, early, and with goodwill prevents resentment later. You do not need to justify endlessly. Here is what I can do. Here is what I cannot do is enough. If someone pushes, repeat the boundary calmly. If they keep pushing, escalate the channel or bring in support. Right speech does not ask you to be nice at your own expense. It asks you to be clear without cruelty. Apologies are another place where waiting before words protects the outcome. When you realize you have caused harm, the impulse to defend yourself can be strong. Pause and let that settle. Then apologize without the word but. I raised my voice and that was not okay. I am sorry. Here is how I will prevent this next time. If you need to explain a context, do it after the apology lands, and only if it truly helps the other person understand, not as a way to dodge responsibility. A clean apology repairs trust faster than a long explanation. The delay helps you sort that out. Praise also benefits from the 4 qualities. Make it true by being specific about what the person did. Make it beneficial by connecting it to values or outcomes. Make it timely by not waiting weeks. Make it kind by delivering it in a way that the person can receive, which might be private for someone who feels shy in groups. Good praise is not flattery. It tells people what to repeat. It builds confidence without inflating ego. Gossip undercuts right speech quickly. Notice the urge to share something that is not yours to share. The pause is your friend here. Ask whether spreading this helps anyone. If it does not, do not repeat it. If a concern is real and needs attention, take it to the person who can do something about it, not a side audience. If someone brings you gossip, you can redirect gently. I do not think that is mine to discuss. Have you talked to them directly? You can be warm and firm at the same time. Humor has to be handled with care when emotions run high. Jokes can disarm tension, but they can also be a way to avoid discomfort or to score points. If you are angry or hurt, skip the jokes. Say plainly what is going on. When the air is clear and everyone is back on the same team, light humor can help. Use it sparingly and never at someone's expense. If a joke lands badly, own it quickly. Digital communication adds extra challenges. Without tone and body language, messages lean sharper than you intend. Emojis and punctuation can help but should not carry the whole load. If the subject is sensitive, choose a channel with more bandwidth. If you must write, structure your message so the receiver can follow your intent. Start with the purpose, share the relevant facts, state your request, and invite a response. Keep it as short as possible without being cryptic. Long, tangled messages usually hide mixed motives. Reread with the 4 qualities in mind before you hit send. There will be moments when speaking up is necessary, even if it is uncomfortable. Harmful behavior, bias, or safety issues need a voice. Right speech does not avoid difficult truths. It delivers them with steadiness and care. Name what you observed, name why it matters, and ask for a change. If you feel shaky, write your key sentence on a card and bring it with you. If you need support, bring another person. The pause here prepares your body and your words so you can stay grounded while you do the right thing. Self-talk counts too. The voice in your head can be the harshest. Apply the same 4 filters. Make your inner speech true by sticking to facts. Make it beneficial by focusing on learning and next steps. Make it timely by not replaying old mistakes on loop when you need sleep. Make it kind by dropping insults. Saying I missed the deadline and I will adjust my process is more useful than I am useless. The way you talk to yourself sets the tone for how you talk to others. If you want a simple daily exercise, pick one conversation each day and make a point to pause before your first sentence. Feel your breath, check your intent, and start with a question or a clear statement of purpose. Notice what changes. Often the whole exchange goes differently because the first line sets the path. Over time, this becomes normal. You do not have to slow every sentence. You just place one small delay at the start and the rest follows a better shape. When you slip, repair quickly. If you say something sharp, acknowledge it without drama. That came out harsher than I meant. Let me start again. People do not expect perfection. They appreciate honesty and a quick reset. That reset is part of right speech too. It shows that you care more about clarity than about being right. All of this is trainable. You do not need special talent, just repetition. Use the same cues that support your pause in other areas. A small note near your screen that says breathe. A habit of touching your watch or your ring before you speak as a signal to slow down. A shared agreement in your team that hard topics get a moment of quiet before responses. These are ordinary supports that keep your words aligned with your values when the pressure is on. The practical payoff is visible. Fewer arguments spin out. Misunderstandings get corrected earlier. Trust grows because people learn that your words are reliable and your tone is safe. You get more done because you spend less time cleaning up after hasty remarks. The pause before speaking is not about being timid. It is about being effective. It turns conversation into a place where problems are solved and respect is kept, even when you disagree strongly. Over days and weeks, that steadiness becomes part of your reputation. People seek you out for the tough talks because they know you will be clear without being cruel. That is a quiet kind of strength, and it comes from waiting just long enough to let wisdom shape your words. That kind of steady presence with words gets tested most when anger surges, because the body speeds up and the mouth wants to follow. Anger is not a problem by itself. It is a strong signal that something feels wrong, unfair, or unsafe. The trouble starts when that signal fuses with a story and launches behavior that harms you or others. The practical move is to catch anger early as a wave in the body, let it be felt without feeding it, and then let clarity shape what you say or do. This is not about being nice or swallowing your truth. It is about holding enough space for a response that actually works. First, it helps to see anger as a physical event. Your heart may pound, your face may feel hot, your neck and jaw may tighten, your breathing may turn shallow and fast, and your attention may narrow to the thing that sets you off. This is normal chemistry. If you do not throw fuel on it with thoughts and jabs, the initial rush often peaks and begins to settle within about a minute or two. That window is when the pause matters most. Instead of jumping into an argument or a hasty message, you do a few reliable things with your body. Drop your shoulders, unclench your jaw, feel your feet, lengthen the exhale gently as if you were fogging a mirror. You're not trying to erase anger. You're letting the body complete its rise and fall so the mind can see what is actually needed. Naming what is happening can keep you from getting swept. You can say quietly to yourself, anger is here. You do not have to say I am angry, which tends to glue the feeling to your identity and make it harder to work with. If you like a second line, add, this is unpleasant and intense, and I can feel it without acting on it yet. That small distinction protects you from the story that says you must explode to be honest or you must shut down to be safe. You are doing neither. You are choosing to feel and wait. A common trap is to let the mind write a long script about motives and weaknesses, yours or theirs. That script is gasoline. If you notice it starting, turn attention back to sensations. Heat in the face, tightness in the chest, restlessness in the hands. Let the breath move through those places. If movement helps, stand up, walk to the sink, and run cool water over your wrists. If you are sitting, plant your feet and press them lightly into the floor. These physical actions help because they bring you out of looping thoughts and into something you can regulate. They also stop you from sending the message or saying the line you will regret. Two qualities are especially useful here and worth defining in plain terms. Equanimity means staying even with what is happening. It is not indifference. It is the steady decision to allow the internal weather to be as it is while you decide what to do. Loving kindness means goodwill. It is the choice to aim your intention toward the well-being of yourself and others, even when you are firm. When anger rises, you can apply both. You let the heat be present in your chest while you add a quiet wish like, "May I be steady. May they be safe. May this be resolved with as little harm as possible." That does not make you soft. It keeps your aim clean so your firmness does not slide into cruelty. From that steadier base, you can check what boundary or value is being touched. Anger points to something that matters. Maybe the boundary is about time, respect, safety, or workload. Name it without drama. When you schedule meetings outside our agreed hours, I feel disregarded, and I need us to keep to the times we set. When you raise your voice, I shut down. I want to continue this, but I need a lower volume or a short break. Those sentences are clear and grounded. They ask for change without attacking character. If the other person is not ready to hear it, you can protect the boundary with action. You can pause the meeting, leave the room, or end the call kindly and reschedule. You are not punishing. You are keeping the conditions sane enough to engage. Checking facts protects you from the distortions anger loves. When you feel heated, it is easy to think in absolutes, like always and never, or to assume motives, like they did that to spite me. The pause gives you time to ask, what do I actually know, and what am I guessing? You might discover that your irritation comes from a missed message or a crossed wire rather than malice. Even if you find a pattern you need to confront, having facts instead of interpretations gives your words weight. It also makes it easier for the other person to respond without feeling attacked. For your body, a few simple routines help. Slow your exhale and let your shoulders drop with each breath. Count slowly to 10 on the out-breath if that keeps you anchored. If you can, step outside for fresh air and a short walk. Cool your face or drink a glass of water. These actions downshift the body and cut the feedback loop between physical arousal and angry thoughts. If you are in a meeting and cannot move, widen your attention. Feel the support of the chair, the contact of clothing on your skin, the sounds in the room. Widening keeps your attention from locking onto the trigger and turns down the volume of the urge to attack. In heated exchanges, it can be useful to say plainly that you need a pause. You can use a neutral line like, "I want to be fair, I need a brief break, I will come back in 20 minutes. Put a time frame on it so the other person knows you are not disappearing. Use the break to clear your head, not to rehearse comebacks. When you return, start by reflecting what you heard. You felt blindsided by the change, is that right? Reflection is not surrender. It resets the channel so your next words have a chance to land. Then state your view and your request in simple terms. Avoid sarcasm and long preambles. Direct is kinder when anger is near because it leaves less room for misinterpretation. Digital spaces can light anger quickly because they strip context. If you feel the surge while typing, draft and save. Read your message out loud. If it sounds sharp or superior, rewrite it in plain language. Replace accusations with questions where appropriate. If the subject is sensitive, suggest a call. The extra channel of voice helps. If you are caught in an outrage cycle online, step away. Ask yourself whether posting right now would reduce harm or add to the pile. Most of the time, waiting until tomorrow morning is wiser. You will not lose your point by sleeping on it. You will likely find better words. Sometimes anger is a cover for hurt or fear. This is not a judgment. It is a common human pattern. Check underneath the heat. Are you afraid of losing status, of being ignored, of being unsafe? Are you hurt by a perceived slight? Naming the layer underneath does not cancel your anger. It refines it. You might say, "I felt dismissed in that meeting, and that hurt. I want to agree on how we handle disagreement." Or, "I felt unsafe when your voice rose. I need us to pause if that happens again." These statements are not airy. They point to the real issue and invite a concrete change. Self-directed anger deserves the same care. Many people blow up outward rarely but go hard on themselves daily. If you catch the inner attack starting, apply the same pause. Name the state. Angry mind. Feel your body. Then switch your inner speech from insults to facts and plans. Instead of "I am terrible," try "I missed the mark. Here is what I will change." If repair is needed, do it. If learning is needed, outline one step. Self-respect grows when you are firm and fair with yourself. It also makes you less likely to lash out at others because you are not carrying a backlog of shame. When a real wrong has occurred, anger can be a healthy engine for change. The key is to steer it. Document what happened. Decide who needs to hear about it. Choose the right channel. Bring a witness if needed. Write down your main sentence so you can stay on track even if emotion rises. You are not dampening your passion, you are harnessing it. Calm anger is persuasive. It keeps you ethical and gives your message staying power. It also protects you from losing your footing if the other side gets loud. There will be times when you do not catch it. Words will fly. You will slam a door or hit send too soon. As soon as you notice, stop the bleed. If possible, send a quick note that you need to pause and will return. Then do the work to calm down. When you are steady, repair. "I spoke harshly. That was not okay. I am sorry. Here is what I will do differently." Do not bury the issue under the apology. Address the original problem too, but separate the two moves so you take full responsibility for your part. Repaired quickly. Most ruptures heal better than if you had pretended nothing happened. Training for anger works better when you also build a baseline that is less primed. Sleep, food, movement, and time outside are not side notes. A body that is exhausted or hungry is easier to tip. If your life is packed, use micro rests. A few calm breaths before tough calls, a short walk after a heated meeting, a quiet minute in the bathroom during a family event. These are not luxuries. They are maintenance for your ability to pause. If you like practical experiments, pick one common trigger and set a simple plan. When I notice heat in my face during a debate, I will slow my exhale and ask one clarifying question. When a message feels rude, I will draft, save, and come back after lunch. When a loved one raises their voice, I will name my need for a break and step outside. Keep the plan small and specific. Afterward, review what happened without beating yourself up. Did the plan help? What would you adjust? Each review makes the next round a little easier. Over time, the shape of anger changes. It still arrives because you care about things, but it moves through faster. It becomes more precise. You feel it, you name it, you check what boundary is involved, and you respond in a way that fits the situation. You are less likely to scorch the earth just to signal that something matters. People around you learn that your anger is clean. It points to issues without turning into attacks. That increases trust, which means your concerns get heard sooner. The long-term effect is a blend of strength and softness that does not require posturing. You stand up without becoming hard, you care without becoming porous, and it all begins with a pause that lets heat turn into clarity rather than into collateral damage. When heat turns into clarity, the next practical move is deciding what you are going to reinforce the next time sparks fly. That is the territory of karma and habit loops. In plain terms, karma is intention. It is not a cosmic scoreboard keeping track of good and bad points. It is the simple fact that what you mean to do and what you actually do leave traces in you and around you. Repeat the same kind of intention often enough and it becomes easier to repeat again. That is how habits form, and that is how outcomes bend in a direction over time. You do not need to take anything on faith here. Look at how your day runs. There is a trigger, there is a feeling tone, there is a pull to act, and there is a result. The brain notes what reduced discomfort or produced a quick reward and makes you more likely to try it next time. That is the loop. Some loops help, many do not. Karma is the name for the intention at the center of that loop. Act from irritation and you strengthen irritation. act from patience and you strengthen patience. So the pause you have been practicing is not just a break. It is a chance to plant a different intention right where the old one usually takes over. Here is a simple way to see the loop without jargon. Something lands in your world and makes contact. You feel it as pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. An urge shows up, then you do something. The outcome feels a certain way and teaches your body whether to repeat it. If you reply to a sharp message with a sharper one, you may feel a spike of relief, but you also set up a mess to clean later. Your body still remembers the relief and will push you to do it again. If instead you pause, breathe, and choose a cleaner reply or wait until the next morning, the urge does not get the reward it expects. Over time, the urge loses some of its power and a new loop forms. Unpleasant feeling, pause, clear choice, good outcome. That is why delaying reaction changes more than a single moment. It changes the pattern that decides the next dozen moments. Each pause plants a distinct intention. Restraint instead of aggression, curiosity instead of assumption, kindness instead of contempt. None of these make you a doormat. They make you accurate. The more often you insert that intention, the more familiar it becomes. At first, it feels like effort. Later, it feels normal. That shift is karma at work in the most down-to-earth way. Consider a work scene many people know. You receive a late-night message that sounds like blame. Your first impulse is to defend yourself. The old loop looks like this. Unpleasant hit, tightening in the chest, fast reply, momentary relief, bigger problem tomorrow morning. A different loop starts the moment you name the tone as unpleasant and hold your hands off the keyboard. You tell yourself you will reply in the morning after sleep. You wake, you reread, you see the piece that is fair and the piece that is off, and you send a clear, measured response. The outcome is better, and that better outcome teaches your system that patience pays off. Repeat that a handful of times and your baseline changes. The late-night message still stings, but your hands do not leap for the send button. That is not moral heroism. It is learned preference for a cleaner result. At home, the loops are often older and tighter. Maybe your family argued by getting louder, or maybe people shut down. Either way, a loop formed. In a tense moment now, you can notice the first signs. Breath short, shoulders up, voice rising or fading. The old loop wants to lock in. The pause is your opening. You say, I want to keep talking and I need a lower volume, or I want to hear you and I need a 10-minute break so I do not say something I regret. When you follow through and the talk goes better, you are teaching your nervous system a new association. Boundary plus respect leads to progress. Repeat that enough times and arguments shift shape. It is not magic. It is repetition. The same logic applies to cravings and numbing. You feel bored or tense, and your body reaches for a default. Scrolling, snacking, pouring a drink, picking a fight, buying something you do not need. The pause lets you check the feeling tone and the need underneath. If you are tense, maybe a short walk and water help more than a feed filled with outrage. If you are lonely, maybe a quick call helps more than a snack. When you substitute one action that actually addresses the need, the loop rewires. The old habit weakens because it is not getting the same payoff. The new habit strengthens because it is tied to real relief. The reward becomes steadier, not just faster. Intention matters not only in content, but in flavor. Two people can do the same behavior with different intentions and build different tendencies. Silence can be wise when it protects space for better words, or it can be fearful when it avoids a needed talk. The outside looks similar, but the inside is not. This is where being honest with yourself counts. Before you claim a choice as mindful, check your aim. Are you trying to reduce harm and see clearly, or are you trying to avoid discomfort at any cost? If it is avoidance, name it. You can still choose to wait if that is safer, but you will not trick yourself into thinking you planted a wholesome seed when you did not. That honesty keeps your karma clean. Another practical point is timing. Habits are shaped by their immediate outcome, while karma plays out across a longer arc. That means you will not always feel an instant win for choosing patience. Sometimes the old habit would have felt good in the moment, even if it caused pain later. You need to remember the later part to keep your intention steady. One way to do this is to check how you feel that evening or the next morning. Do you have fewer repairs to make? Do you respect your own choice? Those are the dividends that appear a little later. Over weeks, they accumulate into a lighter life. The delay in payoff can make people doubt the value of restraint. Keep your view wide enough to include the long effect, not just the short buzz. Shaping your surroundings is part of choosing different seeds. You can make good loops more likely and bad loops less likely by adjusting cues. If you always react to certain alerts, turn them off. If certain conversations go sideways late at night, move them to the daytime. If certain spaces make you tense, create a small ritual that steadies you when you enter them. This is not about controlling the world. It is about reducing friction for the wise choice. Even a small tweak changes the path of least resistance. Over time, those small tweaks add up to a very different day. People help or hinder your loops too. Spend time with those who value clarity and repair, and you will find yourself doing more of it. If your team honors a brief pause before responding, your nervous system relaxes. If your friend group normalizes hot takes and pile-ons, you will feel pulled in that direction. You do not need to cut people off, but you can be intentional about where you take your cues. You can also be the person who brings a calmer norm. Say out loud that you're going to take a breath before answering. Ask if you can sleep on a decision. These small statements broadcast a preference that others often appreciate. Tracking your loops for a short stretch can reveal a lot. At the end of the day, recall 1 or 2 moments when you paused and 1 or 2 when you did not. Note the trigger, the feeling tone, the intention you chose, and the outcome. Keep it light. The goal is not to judge. It is to see patterns. Maybe you notice that hunger or late afternoon fatigue is when you snap. Maybe you see that you react faster in certain kinds of meetings. That information lets you plant supports where they matter. It also shows you your wins. Seeing even a handful of better outcomes builds confidence that the method works. You will have setbacks. That is part of training. An old loop can fire fast when you are tired, scared, or surprised. When it happens, the karmic move is not to spiral into shame. Shame is another loop that tends to produce hiding rather than repair. Instead, pause as soon as you notice. If harm happened, clean it up promptly. Say what you did, apologize without dodging, and outline a small change you will make. Then return your focus to the next choice. One clean repair often prevents a chain of further harm. It also plants a strong intention. When I harm, I repair. That seed is as valuable as any other. This way of looking at karma also softens judgment of others. When you see that people are driven by loops they did not choose at first, you can hold them accountable without dehumanizing them. You can set boundaries and ask for change while recognizing that change takes repetition. That attitude helps at work and at home. It keeps firmness from turning into contempt. It makes it more likely that the other person can hear you. It also keeps your own loops from degenerating into self-righteousness, which is just another habit that feels good for a moment and costs a lot later. There is a subtle shift that happens after a while. You stop treating the pause as a special event and start treating it as normal. You get interested in the quality of the intention you place in that pause. You notice that restraint alone is not always enough. Curiosity moves things forward. You notice that curiosity without kindness can feel like a cross-examination. Kindness balances it. You begin to assemble your own small set of go-to intentions for tough moments. They are simple. Ask one honest question. Name one clear boundary. Offer one clean apology. Choose one small action that actually helps. These are repeatable and they are strong. If you are skeptical, that is healthy. You might wonder whether small intentions really shift outcomes in a world that is complex and often unfair. The honest answer is that they do not fix everything. They do shape your side of the equation, and that has effects. You reduce self-created trouble. You become a steadier teammate and friend. You spot openings for change that a reactive mind would miss. You waste less energy on fights that lead nowhere. Over months and years, those shifts are not small. They change where you end up. You can test all of this without big declarations. Choose one daily trigger and set a clear intention for it ahead of time. When the phone buzzes with a provocation, you will breathe and wait. When a meeting turns tense, you will ask one clarifying question before making your point. When you feel the urge to doom scroll late at night, you will put the phone down and step outside for a few minutes. Keep the experiment short, maybe a week. Notice what changes in outcomes and in how you feel about yourself. Let the results guide what you do next. In the long run, this is how character forms. Not from grand gestures, but from 100 small choices repeated many times. Karma is simply the natural outcome of those choices. Habit loops are the way your body and mind keep them going. The pause you have been building gives you real options at the exact places where old patterns used to run you. Each time you choose a cleaner intention, you alter the path a little. Those little alterations add up. People around you feel the difference. So do you. The day has fewer avoidable fires. The nights have fewer replay tapes. You become someone you trust, not in a dramatic way, but in the steady way that makes life workable. When you become someone you can count on, other people start to relax around you, and that is the beginning of real leadership. In a team, everyone watches how you handle the pressure spikes. They notice whether you rush into the first impulse or hold just long enough to choose well. Leadership under pressure is mostly about using that short pause on purpose. You do not need to be the loudest or the fastest. You need to be steady, and you need to treat time as a resource you can spend to reduce harm and increase benefit. Under stress, the mind pushes for speed because relief feels urgent. The risk is that relief gets mistaken for a good decision. A mindful approach does not reject speed. It places speed where it belongs. Move quickly to stabilize the body and the situation, then slow enough to verify facts, hear the right voices, and align with values. In plain terms, breathe first, check what is real, decide the smallest wise step, communicate simply, and adjust as data comes in. That rhythm is not fancy. It is repeatable under pressure, which is what matters. Your nervous system becomes part of the environment. In a crisis, people borrow calm from whoever has it. Start with 2 deliberate breaths you can feel in the belly. Drop your shoulders and loosen your jaw. This takes a handful of seconds. It keeps your voice steady and your attention wide enough to catch details. If you skip this, you will speak and decide from tunnel vision. That is when avoidable mistakes happen. The pause is not passivity, it is competence. Next, name the problem in a sentence without blame or drama. State what is happening, what matters most right now, and what is unknown. Do not fill the unknowns with guesses. Ask for the 1 or 2 facts you need to move. If you cannot get them immediately, choose a step that is safe to reverse. Some decisions are like doors you can walk back through. Some are not. If a choice is easy to undo, you can move faster. If it is hard to undo, buy time with clear communication while you verify. That way, you put speed where it belongs and caution where it is needed. Pressure tempts leaders to decide alone. That is risky because the people closest to the work often see things you do not. A short huddle can give you the context you need. Ask the person on the front line what they are seeing and what they recommend. Ask the person responsible for customer impact what the risks are. Keep the questions simple and concrete. Then decide and name who does what next. When people know the next step and the reason behind it, they stop guessing and start moving. Writing helps under pressure because it forces clarity. Put the decision and the reasoning in a short paragraph. Say what you chose, why you chose it, what the next step is, when you will review, and who is accountable for updates. This is not bureaucracy. It is insurance against confusion. It also makes the review later easier because you can compare what you believed with what actually happened. Over time, your team will start to write decisions this way as a habit, which shortens meetings and reduces rework. Communication outward needs the same pause you use inward. Speak what is true, keep it helpful, choose the right moment, and hold goodwill. In practice, that means you do not speculate to fill silence. You state what you know and what you are still finding out, and you commit to the next update time. A simple structure often works. Here is what we know. Here is what we do not know. Here is what we are doing next. Here is when you will hear from us again. This protects trust. People can handle uncertainty better than false confidence or silence. Imagine a service outage at the worst possible time. The first move is stabilizing yourself and the room with a breath and a clear statement of the goal, which is to restore service safely and communicate honestly. You ask the owner of the system for a status in one sentence. You ask the customer lead for the impact in one sentence. You decide to roll back the latest change because it is reversible and has the best chance of reducing harm fast. You tell customers that you saw a disruption, that you are rolling back to a stable version, that data safety is your priority, and that you will give the next update in 20 minutes. Then you follow through. When stability returns, you keep the updates coming until normal service is confirmed. Afterward, you schedule a review to learn, not to blame. That sequence turns a mess into a manageable event. Meetings under pressure benefit from a built-in pause. Start with a quiet minute for everyone to read the same short brief. People anchor on the same facts, and the temperature drops. Then take input from the people closest to the problem before senior voices speak. This prevents groupthink and protects against pressure to agree too fast. End with clear owners and times for next steps, and avoid last-minute decisions in the final minutes of a meeting when fatigue is highest. If a decision is high stakes and you are short on energy, name that and set a quick follow-up at a realistic time. It is better to decide with a clear head than to pretend clarity you do not have. Delegation is part of mindful leadership because it builds a wider pause across the system. If people have to ask you for every step, they will either freeze or guess. Create simple playbooks for common problems that name who acts and when to escalate. Set thresholds in plain language. If the dollar impact is under a defined amount and safety is not at risk, the owner decides and informs. If safety, legal risk, or a reputational hit is possible, escalate immediately. This frees people to move on the routine and reserve your attention for the non-routine. It also trains judgment because people see where the lines are. Energy management matters more than it sounds. Decision quality drops when you are hungry, exhausted, or overloaded. Place your heaviest choices earlier in the day when possible. Build small buffers between meetings to reset. A 2-minute walk down a hallway or a handful of long exhales at your desk pays for itself by improving the next hour. If your schedule is packed, protect at least one short window for thinking work without chat or email open. Your job is not to be in motion all day. Your job is to make the right moves. Remote and hybrid work add complexity because you cannot always gather people quickly. Use the pause to slow the channel, not the progress. If a topic is high stakes, move from chat to a call. If you cannot get the right people together right away, write the situation, the options, and the recommendation in a clear message and give a response window. Say explicitly when silence means consent and when it does not. This brings order to distributed decisions and avoids the churn of half decisions that get reopened repeatedly. Training for crisis is not dramatic. It is repetition of small drills. Run short walkthroughs where roles are clear, the first steps are practiced, and the communication script is ready. A checklist is not a sign of inexperience. It is a guardrail for when adrenaline makes memory unreliable. Keep the steps short and decisive. Breathe, name the problem, stabilize the system, inform stakeholders, verify, and iterate. You keep practicing so that in a real event, The pause is instinctive rather than optional. After a tough call, hold a brief and honest look back. Keep blame out and facts in. What triggered it? What did we do first? What helped? What made it harder? What will we change? Capture one or two specific changes and assign owners. Close the loop when those changes are in place. This keeps learning real instead of theoretical. It also makes it easier for everyone to speak up next time because they saw that honest review leads to improvement, not punishment. There will be moments when you must act now. Safety incidents, legal obligations, or hard deadlines sometimes leave no room. The pause still exists. It is just shorter. One deep breath, one clear sentence, one immediate action to reduce harm, and one promise to review. Then you execute. Once stability returns, you expand the pause and go back to deliberate mode. Practiced like this, urgency does not become an excuse for sloppiness. It becomes a temporary gear that you use well. Ethics live inside these choices. When you slow down enough to align with values, you protect people from avoidable harm. Maybe that means telling a client early that a deadline will not be met instead of hoping to catch up. Maybe it means pausing a launch because a safety test failed. Maybe it means taking responsibility publicly for a misstep rather than shifting blame. Each of these choices is costly in the short term and wise in the long term. Time is a moral resource because waiting just enough can prevent damage that cannot be undone. On the human side, mindful leadership includes simple care. If you want your team to pause under pressure, show them how and protect them when they do. Do not punish someone for taking a moment to verify facts. Praise the person who catches a risky assumption before it becomes an incident. Make it easy to flag concerns by asking for them directly and thanking people when they speak up. Trust grows when people see that calm, careful behavior is not only allowed but expected. Your own habits set the pace. Keep a couple of anchors you can reach for in any room. 2 breaths before you answer a hard question. 1 clarifying question before you give an opinion. Writing the key sentence you will say before you start a difficult conversation. Sleeping on decisions that change people's jobs or safety unless waiting would cause harm. Drafting messages and reading them aloud before sending when the stakes are high. These moves look minor. They are the bones of a reliable leadership style. Watch for signs that your approach is working. You will notice fewer last-minute reversals because decisions are made with the right information the first time. Meetings will steady because people know the path you will take. Your team will start raising risks earlier because they trust the outcome will not be a public shaming. Customers and partners will show more patience because your updates are consistent and honest. You will spend less time cleaning up and more time building. None of this requires perfection. It requires consistency. If you feel resistance, name what you are worried about. Many leaders fear that pausing will make them seem indecisive. The opposite happens when you do it well. People see that you choose when to act and when to wait. They see that you take responsibility. They see that your words match what happens next. Decisiveness is not about speed alone. It is about making the call at the right time with the right preparation and then standing by it. A final note on pressure. Your body is part of the tool set. Sleep enough that your baseline is not a hair trigger. Eat real food before high-stakes blocks. Move your body during the day. Step outside between intense sessions. These are not wellness slogans. They are ways to make sure the pause is available when the alarms go off. When you are depleted, the pause shrinks and reactions win. When you are resourced, you can wait the extra handful of seconds that changes outcomes. In practice, mindful leadership is a set of small choices repeated. Breathe before speaking. State the problem simply. Ask the right person for the crucial fact. Choose the smallest safe step. Communicate clearly with timelines and unknowns. Review and learn without blame. Protect the people who act with care. That is how you lead under pressure without losing your center. The result is not flashy. It is a team that trusts each other, a rhythm that holds in storms, and decisions that stand up the next day and the next week. In the hard moments, the leader who breathes first usually sets the tone that saves the most. That same grounded breath that sets the tone in a team meeting matters even more in the kitchen, the car, or during a late-night text with someone you care about. Intimate relationships bring out fast reflexes, old patterns, and strong needs. That is normal. The skill is using the pause to de-escalate, understand what is actually going on, and repair when things go sideways. You do not need complex techniques to do this. You need a handful of steady moves you can reach for when your system is hot and the conversation is slipping. De-escalation starts with your body because that is where the fight begins. When voices rise or silence hardens, feel your feet and slow your exhale. Drop your shoulders, soften your jaw, and let 1 or 2 breaths be longer than usual. If you can, name what is happening without blame. I want to talk about this and I feel myself getting tense. Can we slow down? If that works, the pace of the talk changes a little. If it does not, call a brief pause with a clear return time. I need a 10-minute break to cool down. I will come back at 1:15. Putting a time on it matters because it signals commitment, not avoidance. Use the break to settle, not to build a case. Walk, get water, splash your face, breathe. When you return, start by checking if the other person is ready to continue. That check itself lowers heat because it shows respect. Anger and fear thrive on misreading. You can turn the temperature down by confirming what you heard before you respond. So you felt left out when I made that plan without asking, is that right? Say it in your own words and keep it short. If you got it wrong, let them correct you. When someone feels understood, the urge to shout goes down. Do not rush to your point yet. Ask, is there more I should hear before I respond? Often the most important piece comes after the first one. If you are the one speaking, try to state the core concern in a sentence. The shorter the sentence, the easier it is to address. Empathy does not mean agreeing with a claim you think is unfair. It means you are willing to see the feeling and the need underneath the words. You can say, I do not see it that way, but I hear that you felt sidelined, and I care about that. What would help you feel included next time? That kind of response keeps dignity on both sides. It also moves the talk from blame to planning. If you are not sure what the other person needs, ask directly. Do you want comfort right now, or do you want help with solutions? Many arguments come from offering the wrong thing. A lot of people want simple reassurance first. Others want a concrete step. Asking saves time and hurt. Boundaries are part of de-escalation. You can care and still say no to harmful behavior. Name the boundary early and clearly. I want to keep talking, and I need us to stop interrupting. I want to hear you, and I need us to keep voices at a normal level. If the boundary is crossed, state what you will do. If the shouting continues, I am going to step out and we can restart in 20 minutes. Follow through calmly. This is not punishment. It is keeping conditions workable. Over time, these boundaries create safety, and safety makes honesty possible. Texting is a common place for escalation because tone is invisible. When a thread heats up, suggest moving to a richer channel. Can we talk by phone? I do not want to misread tone. If you cannot switch, slow the exchange. Write shorter messages, avoid sarcasm, and do not stack questions. If you are upset, draft and wait. Read it aloud. If it sounds superior or vague, rewrite it in plain language. Offer a time to talk. I can call at 7 in the evening. If you receive a hot message, you can acknowledge and buy time without fueling it. I see this as important. I want to be thoughtful. I will reply tomorrow morning. Then do. In families and partnerships, many fights are about logistics on the surface and about fairness or care underneath. The mental load of keeping a home or parenting can be uneven in ways that are easy to miss. A useful move is to name roles and expectations out loud instead of guessing. Pick a calm moment and walk through the week. Who handles meals on which days? Who manages appointments? Who takes point when a kid is sick? Who is on call at night? Who tracks supplies? Keep it practical and kind. Switch roles sometimes to see hidden work. If resentment has built up, do not try to solve everything in one sitting. Choose one change that would relieve real strain and try it for 2 weeks. Review, adjust, and add the next change. Small, Visible wins reduce the background tension that makes every disagreement harder. Friends and roommates need the same clarity. Money, noise, guests, and shared spaces are classic stress points. Do not wait for a blow-up. Set simple agreements when you move in or when you notice friction. If you miss that window, you can still reset. Pick a calm time. Say what is working, then say the one thing that is not and what change would fix it. If you need to ask for a behavior change, keep it observable. Instead of be more respectful, try please text me if guests are coming by after 10 in the evening. Then follow the same standard yourself. Reciprocity makes requests easier to accept. During conflict, physical cues help more than people expect. Sit down if you feel yourself looming. Uncross your arms. Keep your face relaxed. If you can safely do it and it fits the relationship, light touch on a shoulder or hand can reassure the nervous system. Not everyone wants touch when upset, so ask, do you want a hug or space? That question alone conveys care. If touch is not right, you can still use your voice and pacing. Slow down, lower your volume, and leave pauses. Silence can be friendly when it gives room to think. Rapid-fire questions usually make people defensive. Listening is easier if you separate validation from agreement. You can validate the reality of someone's feeling without agreeing with their view of the facts. You might say, "It makes sense that you are frustrated. I would be too if I saw it that way." Then you can add, "Here is how I saw it and what I was trying to do." This structure avoids the dead end of debating whose feeling is allowed. All feelings pass the validity test. The facts can be sorted calmly afterward. When you need to confront a pattern, be specific and keep the scope narrow. Pick one situation from last week, name the behavior you saw, name the impact on you, and make a concrete request. When you make jokes about my work in front of friends, I feel small and guarded. I need you to save concerns for private talks. Then stop. Let the other person respond. If they get defensive, you can say, "I am not attacking you. I am telling you how this lands and what I need." If they deny your experience, repeat the impact and boundary once, and if needed, end the talk and return when tempers cool. You are not obligated to convince someone at full volume. You are obligated to be clear and steady. Repair is where relationships earn their strength. After a rupture, the impulse to defend is strong. Pause, own your part, and keep the apology clean. "I cut you off and spoke sharply. That was not okay. I am sorry. Here is what I will do differently next time." Do not add a but. If context will truly help the other person understand, share it later and only after accountability has landed. If you were hurt too, you can bring that up in a separate moment rather than packaging it into the apology. Mixing them tends to sound like a trade and weakens the repair. A restart line is useful in the moment. "That came out wrong. Can I try again? I am getting reactive. I want to reset." Said early, it stops the slide. If the other person offers a restart, accept it. Say yes and listen to the new attempt. Do not punish the reach. You are building a culture where trying again is safe. That culture prevents a lot of lingering resentment. Aftercare matters more than people think. Even after an argument resolves, the body can stay charged. Simple gestures help discharge it. Make tea, take a short walk together, sit close without talking, or do a small task side by side. You are letting the system feel safe again. If you are long distance, a short call to say we are okay can do the same job. Do not skip this and assume the mind alone will calm the body. It often does not. Preventive maintenance keeps the load light. Many couples and families benefit from a regular check-in. It does not have to be formal. Pick one evening each week, keep it short, and cover 3 things in plain words. Something that went well between us, something that was hard, and one small adjustment for the next week. Keep it kind and specific. If emotions run hot, slow down and return later. The goal is to keep issues small by touching them while they are still fresh. If weekly feels like too much, try every other week and keep it on the calendar. Regularity beats intensity. jealousy, insecurity, and old hurts will visit any long relationship. Here, the pause helps you speak the fear without wrapping it in blame. You can say, I get anxious when plans change last minute. Can you text me if you're running late? Or, I felt a pang when you were on your phone during dinner. I want us to keep that time clear. These are requests, not demands. They give the other person a path to help instead of a test they can only fail. If you are on the receiving end, you can reassure without surrendering your autonomy. I care about your sense of safety. I can text when I am delayed. I will also keep some private time for myself. Boundaries and reassurance can live together. With children, the same principles apply with simpler language and firmer boundaries. Get down to their level, name the feeling, and state the limit. You are angry. It is okay to be angry. It is not okay to hit. We take a break and then we talk. Keep your voice even. Offer a choice when you can. Do you want to calm down on the couch or in your room? Follow through. After the storm, reconnect quickly. That was hard. We are okay. Let us try again. Kids learn how to repair by watching you do it with them and with other adults. It is important to say openly that some situations are not safe. If there is ongoing cruelty, manipulation, or physical danger, pausing and better words will not fix it. Safety comes first. Get distance, get help, and protect yourself and any dependents. The skills we are talking about are for ordinary conflict between people of goodwill, not for surviving harm. Being clear on that protects you from blaming yourself for not being able to pause your way out of abuse. Not every relationship will match your pace. One person may need more time to process. The other may want to resolve fast. You can accommodate each other with simple agreements. If you need time, say how much and when you will return. If you want speed, accept that pushing will backfire and use the waiting time to write out your main points calmly. Over months, you will likely meet in the middle without forcing it. Notice the honest signs of progress. Fights end sooner and with less debris. You catch yourself mid-sentence and soften. You ask what the other person needs before offering fixes. You take breaks without doors slamming. You apologize faster and cleaner. You follow through on small agreements. The home or friendship feels less brittle. Trust builds not from never fighting, but from fighting better and repairing well. That trust becomes a cushion that absorbs shocks you cannot prevent. If you want something concrete to try, choose one phrase to use this week in hard moments. It could be, let me slow down so I can hear you, or I want to get this right, can we pause and restart, or I need 10 minutes and I will be back at 9. Pair it with one action that calms your body. Keep it simple. The point is not to be perfect. It is to keep the connection intact while you sort out the issue. When it works even a little, say so. That went better. Thank you for sticking with me. Positive feedback encourages more of the same from both sides. Relationships test attention more than any meditation cushion. They bring out your best and your blind spots, sometimes in the same afternoon. Using the pause for de-escalation, empathy, and repair is not fancy or mystical. It is a set of ordinary moves practiced on purpose. Slow the body, name what is happening, check what you heard, state your need plainly, set fair boundaries, ask for time when you need it, and come back to repair when you slip. Done over and over, these moves change the climate between you. Conversations feel safer. Disagreements turn into adjustments. Care shows up in visible ways. The result is not a life without conflict. It is a bond that can carry conflict without breaking, and a daily rhythm that is steadier and kinder for everyone involved. When the bond feels steadier at home, the next test shows up the moment you open a screen and the feed tries to pull you into speed. Modern platforms and news cycles are built to tighten the gap between seeing something and reacting to it. Notifications flash, headlines shout, and buttons sit exactly where your thumb lands. None of that is evil. It is just how the systems are designed to keep attention. Knowing that, you can take back a little space before you click, post, or buy. That space changes outcomes online just as much as it does in the room with you. Start with a simple reality check. The stream you see is not neutral. Software decides what shows up first based on what kept you scrolling before. That means outrage, novelty, and strong opinions rise to the top more often than patient updates or thoughtful nuance. The feed is not trying to inform you, it is trying to hold you. When you remember that, the urge to react fast makes more sense. You are being cued. The fix is not to abandon technology, it is to build a pause at the exact points where the design expects you to move without thinking. If you do only one thing, place a breath between seeing and tapping, feel the exhale in your belly before you like, share, reply, or buy. It sounds tiny, and it is, but it disrupts the reflex. In that breath, ask a small question you can answer in a second. What outcome do I want from this action? If you cannot name a helpful outcome, skip it for now. That goes for jumping into a hot thread, forwarding a scary headline, or adding one more angry comment to a pile. Most of the time, a short wait helps you post better or not at all, which often helps most. The clock matters in digital life. Late at night, your body is tired and your patience is thin. That is when posts tilt sharp and reading comprehension drops. A practical rule is to delay anything emotional to the next day. Draft the message, then wait until 8 in the morning or 9 in the morning to reread. You will see edges you missed. Many email and chat tools let you schedule send for the morning. Use that. If you cannot schedule, copy your draft into a note and set a reminder. The point is not to suppress. It is to give your calmer brain a chance to lead. Before you share a news item, check 3 things quickly. Read beyond the headline, look for a date, and glance at the source. Headlines are built to hook, not to explain. Old stories recirculate as if they are new, and satire sites can look like serious outlets. You do not need to become a full fact-checker. You just need to stop being a megaphone for things that are false or stale. If something sets your hair on fire, that is a sign to slow down, not speed up. A story that is true will still be true in 20 minutes. If it is not, you just saved your friends from confusion. Outrage cycles feel satisfying for a moment and leave a hangover. You know the pattern. You scroll while standing in the kitchen. Your heart rate rises. You compose a thread in your head, and 30 minutes later you feel wrung out without having helped anyone. Insert a pause earlier. Notice the physical cue that you are getting pulled in. Tight chest, shallow breath, clenched jaw. Say to yourself, strong reaction, not acting yet. Put the phone down and look out a window or step outside. If you still care after a short walk or a glass of water, write your thoughts with calm facts and a clear ask, or send a direct note to someone who can actually address the issue. Public venting is not wrong, but it is rarely the most effective move. Notifications are small but powerful. Each alert shrinks the gap to 0. You do not have to turn everything off, but you can be selective. Keep alerts for people who need you in real time and remove alerts for things that want your attention without truly needing it. Then pick windows to check the rest. For news, twice a day is enough for most people, once in the morning and once in the late afternoon. For social feeds, you might choose a short block after lunch and another early evening. If something truly urgent happens, you will hear about it fast anyway. Without constant pings, your attention gets to finish one thing before jumping to the next, which is a quiet relief. Comment threads invite quick identity statements. The platform asks, "Where do you stand? State it now." That is fine when it is a light topic. On heavier issues, the pause protects you from staking your name to a sentence you will not stand by tomorrow morning. Before you post, summarize your own point in one simple sentence. If you cannot do that, you are not ready to post. If you can, decide whether your sentence adds light or just heat. Useful posts tend to have steady tone, a clear point, and an openness to correction. You can even say, "This is how I see it, and I might be missing something." People read tone, even online. Calm posts draw calm responses more often than not, and sometimes they reset the whole thread. Direct messages can carry difficult topics better than public comments. If someone you know posts something you disagree with, you have options beyond calling them out in front of everyone. A short, respectful note saying you see it differently and asking if they are open to a conversation can go a long way. If they say no, keep your energy. Fighting in public rarely changes minds and often hardens positions. Save your effort for places where nuance can land. Buying online is another place where the gap collapses fast. Targeted ads match your interests and then add timers or low stock warnings to tip you into action. If you find yourself hovering over buy, put the item in the cart and wait. Decide on a cooling off period that fits your budget and stick to it. It could be 20 minutes for small items and 24 hours for anything bigger. During the wait, check whether you already own something that covers the need. Check a second source for price and quality, and ask whether this purchase will still feel useful in a month. If the answer is still yes the next day, buy it with a clear head. If the urge fades, you just saved money and avoided clutter. Either way, you made a choice rather than being pushed. Group chats and community spaces need the same care you use at home. Late night back and forth tends to go sideways. If a topic gets heated, suggest moving it to a time when people are fresher or to a channel where fewer voices can talk over each other. Name the goal up front, such as, let us figure out a plan for duties this week, not rehash everything since spring. Narrow scope lowers drama. If you are the admin, set simple norms. Quiet hours during the night, a cooling off period on hot topics, and a reminder that sarcasm is hard to read. Tell people you will enforce those norms kindly and actually do it. Clear norms are a gift because they protect the community from avoidable fires. If you create content or lead a public account, the pressures double. There is a push to post constantly and to reach for strong takes because they get more views. You can set your own standard. Choose quality over frequency. Say no to posting when you are depleted. Let yourself skip a cycle instead of filling it with something you do not stand by. If you make a mistake, correct it openly and move on. Your long-term trust does not depend on being perfect. It depends on being steady and transparent. Audiences respond to that more than to volume or drama. Privacy is part of a healthy pause online. Once you post, you lose control of context. Screenshots travel. Jokes to friends look different to strangers. Ask yourself whether your post is kind and fair even out of context. If it is not, do not post. If you are not sure, wait until tomorrow morning and ask a real person you trust. That extra step has saved many people from long, avoidable messes. Again, this is not about fear. It is about not creating problems you do not need. Mood follows screens more than we admit. If you feel low or agitated after scrolling, treat that as data. Pay attention to which accounts leave you informed and steady and which leave you tense and ungrounded. You can mute without announcing it. You can follow people who add knowledge and drop those who mainly add noise, even if they are popular. You do not owe your attention to anyone. It is your responsibility to choose where it goes. Families can make simple agreements to keep the gap alive. Phones off the table during meals. Devices out of bedrooms during sleep hours. No heavy topics by text after 10 in the evening. A weekly check-in to see what is working and what is not. Keep it light and cooperative. The idea is not to police each other. It is to support each other in being sane. If someone slips, reset and try again. Consistency beats strictness here. If you are worried about missing out, remember that most of the time the cost of waiting is small and the benefit is large. If a job posting matters, it will still be there in the morning and you will write a clearer note. If a friend needs you, they can call. If the world is on fire, you will hear from multiple sources. What you lose by waiting a little is usually noise. What you gain is accuracy, tone, and self-respect. The pause is not about being slow. It is about being the author of your moves rather than a passenger. There are a few small, repeatable moves that make a big difference. Keep your phone in another room during sleep hours so late-night scrolling does not trap you. When a thread upsets you, touch the device down to a table and breathe out slowly a few times before you type. Read your own message out loud before you send. If it sounds like something you would not say face-to-face, rewrite it. If a post needs a correction, update it and say so clearly. People trust that. If a friend posts something alarming, check in privately, rather than piling on publicly. It takes the same amount of time and often helps more. At work, set norms with your team that protect attention. Agree on decision windows instead of expecting instant replies all day. If something is truly urgent, mark it explicitly and use a channel that gets attention on purpose. If it is not urgent, batch it. You will get better responses and fewer mistakes. When you share updates with customers or partners during fast-moving situations, use the same structure every time. What we know, what we do not know, what we are doing next, and when you will hear from us again. People relax when they trust your rhythm. The internet does not have a closing bell, which means you have to make one. Pick a time in the evening when you stop reading news and stop posting. It could be 9 in the evening or 10 in the evening. Stick to it for a week and see how your sleep and mood change. If that feels too rigid, make a softer rule. After a certain hour, you can read long-form pieces or books, but not feeds. The longer formats move slower and do not yank your body around as much. You will feel the difference. Some people worry that pausing online makes you irrelevant. In practice, thoughtfulness travels. Others notice when you bring facts and fairness. They notice when you ask honest questions instead of dunking. They notice when you correct yourself without a fuss. That builds a reputation that lasts longer than any spike in views. It also makes your own mind a better place to live, because you are not constantly cleaning up after late-night posts or impulse buys. If you want to test all of this without a big overhaul, set a 1-week experiment. For 7 days, delay emotional posts until the next morning, check news twice a day, and put a purchase cooling-off period in place. Keep a note of what changes. Fewer conflicts, fewer regrets, less clutter, better sleep. If the results help, keep the parts that worked and drop the rest. The goal is not to become austere. The goal is to be free enough from the tug of the feed that you can use these tools in a way that serves your life. The pause online is the same pause you have been building everywhere else. One breath, one check of intention, one small delay that lets wisdom catch up. When you use it, your contributions improve and your attention stops being yanked by whatever is loudest. That calmer presence can change a thread, steady a group chat, and make space in your own mind for real life to happen. Practiced person by person, it becomes a quiet counterweight to the rush baked into our screens. It is simple and unglamorous, and it works. The same small weight that steadies you on a screen becomes much easier when you train it on purpose, so it shows up even when you are tired, stressed, or surprised. You do not need to overhaul your life to do this. A handful of techniques, practiced in short, regular bursts, make the pause feel natural. The aim is simple. Settle the body fast, see what is happening clearly, and choose with a bit of warmth. Breath gives you the stabilizer, noting gives you the label that stops autopilot, and compassion keeps the pause from turning cold. Put them together with a few daily cues, and you get a reliable gap you can count on. Start with the breath because it is the quickest switch you control. Sit or stand upright without being stiff, feel your feet on the ground, and place attention where the breath touches the body, often the belly or the nostrils. Let the breath be as it is. If it is shallow, let it be shallow. If it is long, let it be long. You are not forcing anything. To begin, give this a small container like 2 minutes in the morning and 2 minutes in the evening. If thoughts pull you away, notice that and place attention back on the next exhale. A soft focus is enough. You are training your attention to return, not to lock up. You can use the same breath in tiny doses during the day. Before opening messages, feel 3 full exhales. Before you answer a difficult question, feel 1 steady breath and loosen your jaw. While waiting for a meeting to start, let your shoulders drop on each exhale for a handful of breaths. If you need a count, you can lightly count up to 5 on the out-breath and let the in-breath come on its own. Counting in words is fine. It is just a way to keep the mind from sprinting off. These micro-pauses take seconds, and they change the tone of the next move. Noting is the simple practice of putting a short, accurate label on what is happening right now. You can note body sensations like tight, warm, heavy. You can note feeling tone like pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. You can note mind activity like thinking, planning, remembering, worrying. You can note urges like reaching, resisting, editing, posting. The point is not to analyze or fix. The point is to interrupt the slide from feeling to reaction by naming the step you are in. When you name it, you create a little distance and a lot more choice. You do not need to note every second. Sprinkle it in. When the phone buzzes and your hand shoots out, you might silently note urge and then feel one breath. If you catch yourself replaying a comment from earlier, you might note remembering and then come back to your body. If a meeting turns tense, you might note unpleasant and then slow your exhale. Try to keep the labels plain and honest. If your mind argues with the label, pick a simpler one. The goal is to see clearly, not to be clever. Feeling tone deserves its own attention because it shows up first and loudest. Label the flavor as pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral when something lands. The snack looks delicious. Pleasant. The email feels sharp. Unpleasant. The hold music drags on. Neutral. If you note the tone early, you will see the urge to grab the pleasant, fight the unpleasant, or drift in the neutral. That moment right there is the opening. Pleasant can be enjoyed without clinging. Unpleasant can be felt without attack. Neutral can be lived without going dull. A one-word label makes that possible. Another tool that fits naturally here is a short sequence called RAIN. The letters stand for recognize, allow, investigate, and non-identification, which is a mouthful, so keep it simple. Recognize means admit what is present, like anger is here or fear is here. Allow means let it be for a moment without trying to eject it. Investigate means look with gentle curiosity at the body sensations and the thoughts that are running, not to dig deep but to see the pattern. Non-identification means remember that this is a passing state, not your whole identity. In a practical scene, you read a message that spikes you. You recognize unpleasant and anger. You allow it for a few breaths without typing. You investigate by feeling the heat in your chest and the story your mind is telling. And you remember that this is anger, not the boss of you. After that, you're able to choose a cleaner reply or decide to wait until tomorrow morning. Compassion keeps the pause humane. Without it, pausing can feel like a cold restraint that builds pressure. Loving kindness is the simple practice of wishing well. It does not require any belief. You can repeat short phrases silently to yourself, like, may I be steady, may I be kind, may I see clearly. You can include others with may they be safe, may they be at ease, may we find a way forward. Choose words that feel natural to you. Use them before a hard conversation, after a mistake, or when you feel the urge to lash out. This softens the edges and makes it easier to act without cruelty. If the phrases feel awkward, shorten them. Even one line like steady and kind can tilt the moment. Training works best when it is tied to cues you already have. Pick a few anchors in your day. Every time you touch a door handle, take one slow breath. Every time you sit down at your desk, note the feeling tone once before doing anything. Every time the phone rings, relax your jaw before you say hello. Pour tea before email or messages, and while the water heats, feel the breath. Use a simple chime on your device once each hour as a reminder to feel your feet and exhale. None of these are dramatic. They are guardrails that make the pause automatic in places where you usually rush. Formal practice helps too, and it does not need to be long. If you can sit quietly for 10 minutes on most days, that is plenty to build momentum. Settle your posture, place attention on the breath, and when the mind wanders, which it will, notice it and return. Mix in a few minutes of loving kindness by repeating your phrases gently. If 10 minutes is too much at first, start with 5 minutes and add a minute each week until you reach a level that fits your life. Consistency counts more than length. If you miss a day, do not stack guilt on top. Start again the next day as if nothing dramatic happened. Movement can carry the same training. Walking practice is straightforward. As you walk, feel the contact of the feet with the ground and the shift of weight. Let your steps be natural. You can pair steps with a short phrase like here or now if that keeps you present. Chores work the same way. While washing dishes, feel the temperature of the water, the texture of the plate, the movement of the hands. While brushing your teeth, feel the contact on the gums. Each time your mind runs off, bring it back to the sensation in front of you. These are not spiritual acts. They are drills that strengthen attention and make pausing easy when it matters. Troubleshooting is part of the process. If you keep forgetting to pause, make the cues louder. Put a small note that says breathe where you will see it. Move the note every few days so your eyes do not tune it out. Ask a friend or a partner to text you one word like breathe or kindness at a set time and return the favor. If you feel numb during practice, open your eyes and include sounds and sights. If you feel overwhelmed by strong emotions, shorten the session. Keep attention in the body and stick with simple labels. If past trauma or high anxiety makes inner focus hard, work gently. Keep practices brief. Lean on grounding like feet on floor and feeling your seat. And consider doing this with guidance from a trained person. Safety comes first. Some people worry that noting and RAIN will make them detached. The fix is to include compassion every time. After labeling a tough state, add a kind phrase. After pausing an urge, add a friendly exhale. When you repair after a mistake, say the apology and also include a simple care sentence for yourself, like that was rough, starting again. This keeps the training human and prevents it from becoming a control contest with your own mind. Tracking progress helps because change is easy to miss when it is quiet. Keep a tiny log for a week. Each evening, write one sentence about when you paused and how it changed the outcome, and one sentence about where you missed the pause and what cue might help next time. Keep it factual, not confessional. After 7 days, read the notes. You will likely see patterns you can use, like late afternoon being a danger zone or certain meetings needing an extra breath. You may also notice wins you would have forgotten, like a cleaner email or a softened tone in a tense talk. Those small wins are the point. As practice settles in, you can blend techniques. During a difficult call, feel your feet, note unpleasant, lengthen the exhale, recognize anger, allow for a few breaths, investigate the tight jaw, remember this is a passing state, and add a quiet wish for steadiness. Then, ask your clarifying question. That sounds like a lot written out, but in real time it can take less than a handful of breaths. Combinations are natural once the pieces are familiar. Do not force them. Let the situation tell you which piece to use. Bring others along if you can. In teams or families, suggest a shared pause before hard talks. One breath with eyes open is enough. Agree on phrases that signal a reset, like "Can we restart?" or "I need a short break." Back at 9 in the evening. Teach children simple versions. One breath, name the feeling, name the limit, try again. Share what works for you with friends who are interested, and stay out of teaching mode if they are not. The goal is to make pauses normal, not to make them a rule. Finally, keep it practical and kind. You are not trying to become a different person. You are training your current system to give you a second of space when it counts. On some days you will be smooth, on others you will fumble. Treat both kinds of days the same way, with a light touch and a return to the basics. Breathe, notice, soften, choose. The payoff shows up in small places first. A message sent with a better tone, a conversation that does not spiral, a purchase you do not regret. Over weeks, those small outcomes add up. The pause stops being a trick and becomes the way you move. When the next spike hits, you will have the tools in your pocket and the habit in your body. You will feel the urge, hold it for a breath, and let wisdom and goodwill shape what comes next.